So the other day, SNK Japan via Twitter announced that they would be releasing a Neo Geo Classic to celebrate their 40th anniversary. All your friends from the 90s are doing it, why not you, right? As most of you already know, there is an SNK collection coming to Switch to honor that very same milestone. And that collection is going to be featuring a variety of titles, including arcade versions of games as well as their home ports. This, on the other hand, is specifically Neo Geo, at least from what I can tell from the picture that they tweeted. Some of you may recall that SNK kind of sort of went down this road once before. They partnered with Tomo to release the Neo Geo X Gold, which was essentially a handheld emulation device that could then dock to your television. I'll be generous and say that it was met with mixed reviews. I never owned one, but I think I remember reading that the screen was just really bad on it, and beyond that, the screen wasn't even a 4:3 ratio. It was a widescreen LCD that stretched the format of the games. I believe there were some other issues as well, and I know SNK actually ended up taking legal action against Tomo to stop producing these units. That said, the Neo Geo Classic can only be better, right? I have so many Omega jokes running through my head right now, my brain is just kind of on overload, just trying to settle on one. Alright, first things first, the device itself is still shrouded in a little bit of secrecy, if that even is the device that's draped in the black sheet. It's an odd shape which brings several people, including myself, to believe that the unit is in the shape of an arcade cabinet. And I actually hope that that's true. While the AES home version of the system is the true console, it's derived from its roots as an arcade machine. This is perfect. It would be like SNK saying, yeah, you have your mini versions of your NES and SNES and the Genesis consoles. We miniaturized an arcade legend for you. That's badass. Do it, SNK. That brings us to the controller. It's hard to imagine we're going to get the AES sticks, even if they go with the arcade MVS cabinet as the unit's design. My best guess would be that we'll get a reimagining of the Neo Geo CD's gamepads. And that's perfectly fine. These rank up there as one of my top controllers of all time. I often complain about how small the buttons are on the Switch's Joy-Cons. I personally find them unusable, and I'll roll with a Pro controller any day of the week. Well, there's no issue with size here. These buttons are large, and the controller itself is taller than most of its counterparts of the same era. It fits perfectly into your hands, and it feels great. The thumbstick is interesting for its time as well. It clicks with each press. I'm definitely okay with this arcade machine and gamepad mismatch if that's what we end up rolling with. Alright, the bigger question, what games will this come with? I think we can safely name quite a few, and we can even cheat a little by taking a look back at the 20 games that were released on the lowly Neo Geo X. This is a fairly solid list. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on each of these, but you can see that most of the staples are already here. Got Baseball Stars 2, 3 Fatal Fury games, maybe a bit excessive actually, but I'm not really a huge fighting game fan, so maybe I'm not the best one to weigh in on that. King of Fighters 95 is an interesting choice. I think most people would roll with 98 if given the option. King of Monsters, which I've always loved. Last Resort, oh my god. Please everyone, enjoy that one if you haven't had the pleasure. Yeah. Anyways, League Bowling, which may seem lame unless you are competing against someone, and then it's actually a pretty good party game. Of course, the game that introduced the Neo Geo to many of us, Magician Lord, and right after that, you can go right down the line here with Mutation Nation, running in the cab behind me, actually. Definitely, I think the preferred beat 'em up on the system as opposed to Burning Fight. Nom 1975, another great early game on the system. Very similar to Operation Wolf, if you've ever played that with a controller instead of the gun in the arcade. They gave us a puzzle game with Puzzled, and of course Samurai Showdown 2, which is arguably the best in the series. I'm not even going to get into the middle of that. You guys can hash that one out in the comments if you want, but I think putting 2 on here was definitely the right choice. World Heroes Perfect is a nice underrated title here as well, and I definitely think that's the best in the series. I think most of us can at least definitively agree on that one. Alright, so we got a nice mix of fighters, shooters, running guns, sports, and even some beat 'em ups. What's missing? I think they have to find a way to get Windjammers and Neo Turf Masters onto these units. They're two fantastic games that I think a lot of people missed out on until recently because of their ports to PS4 and Switch. It would also be nice to get some more platformer representation outside of Magician Lord. Maybe we could get Blues Journey or even Top Hunter. I'd also like to see them maybe swap out one of the Fatal Furies from the original list with Mark of the Wolves. For the most part, I think all of these games are properties that are owned by SNK. Even the earlier ones that were done by Nazca. Nazca was later acquired by SNK, so it shouldn't be too terribly difficult for them to pull this off. If you remember, Nintendo worked out deals with Konami and Capcom in order to get their games moved over to the NES and SNES classics. So if we're playing the odds with guessing here, and I think looking back on what the Neo Geo X Gold had is a good starting point, I'd edit it just slightly and increase the game count a little bit and roll with this as my preferred list without getting too ambitious or carried away. Let me know in the comments what I missed, your preferred titles, and whether or not you plan on picking this up. After all, this is going to be emulation, and sometimes that's a dirty word amongst our overly prideful group. It really just depends on how well this is done, in my personal opinion, both the emulation as well as the overall UI. If it can come close to what Nintendo's recent offerings are for the NES and SNES classics, I think they'll have a hit on their hand. If it's more akin to the AT game system that Sega is rolling with, probably not so much. That's it for today, everyone. Thanks for watching and also for all the love on the last video. I greatly appreciate everyone who took the time to watch, comment, like, and definitely subscribe. I love knowing that all of those recent subscribers came from people who were interested in the Neo. That's really great. Have a good one, everyone. Later, guys.